All right, everyone, welcome back to Tech Talk Central. It's great to have you back with us. Today we're diving into a head-to-head comparison that you guys requested, the TCL QM7 versus the Hisense U7N.
And it seems like everyone's after that best budget gaming TV, and one that doesn't skimp on that 144 hertz refresh rate. So yeah, we're going to help you guys out with that decision.
So we've been doing our research, looking at all those details, the specs, the reviews from real users. We want to give you a breakdown that's clear and easy to digest without overwhelming you.
I just want to arm you with the knowledge to make that right choice for your setup.
Okay, so let's get the ball rolling with the TCL QM7, focusing on the 75-inch model.
Yeah, 75 inches, that's a good size to start with.
Right. So right off the bat, the display is really eye-catching. It's a QD mini LED screen with QLED Ultra. Now, I know that sounds like a mouthful of jargon, but basically it's a combination of really tiny LEDs for super precise backlighting.
Uh-huh, I see.
And then they pair that with quantum dots, which is basically this fancy tech that makes the colors just pop. They're more vibrant and lifelike. And obviously it's 4K Ultra HD resolution. You kind of expect that these days.
Right. Like, who doesn't have 4K now?
Exactly. But for our gaming audience, the real star of the show is that 144 hertz variable refresh rate. And get this, it can even go up to 240 hertz with their game accelerator 240.
Wow, 240 hertz. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for someone who's like really into gaming?
It means super smooth gameplay, especially if you're into fast-paced action games. You're not going to get any of that screen tearing or stuttering that can really ruin the experience.
I hate when that happens.
It's the worst. Another thing that's really cool about the QM7 is the crazy number of local dimming zones, over 1,500. Think of it like this. Each zone controls the brightness of a small part of the screen independently. So what you get is this incredible contrast. The blacks are really deep, and the brights are super bright. You get a lot of depth and detail, especially in those darker scenes. And talking about brightness, the QM7 can reach up to 1,500 nits.
1,500 nits. That's really bright.
Oh, yeah. And one user even reported hitting 2,400 nits. That's going to make HDR content look absolutely stunning. And to handle all this visual wizardry, it's got the TCL AIPQ PRO processor, which has this AI smarts built in. It's constantly analyzing what you're watching and tweaking the color, the contrast, you name it all, in real time. Plus, it supports all the major HDR formats like Dolby Vision IQ, HBR10, plus HDR10 HLG, so you're pretty much covered no matter what you're watching.
Okay, so we've got amazing picture quality, but what about those fast-paced action scenes? You're playing a game, things are moving really quickly on screen. How does the TCL handle that?
Well, they've got you covered there too with motion rate 480 and something called MEMC frame insertion. This tech basically adds in extra frames to smooth out those fast-moving scenes, so you get less blur, everything looks crisper and clearer.
That's a game changer.
For sure. Now, as we were talking about gaming earlier, all these features are great, but they need to translate into an actual good gaming experience. That's where the Game Accelerator 240 comes in, which we mentioned before. It's what allows for that high variable refresh rate, minimizing screen tearing and stuttering. So you get that super smooth, fluid image that gamers want. Plus, it's got OLM, or auto low latency mode, which kicks in when it detects a console and switches to the lowest input lag setting automatically.
Nice. So the TV's doing the thinking for you. No need to mess around with settings every time you switch between watching a movie and playing a game.
Exactly. And on top of all that, they've thrown in AMD FreeSync Premium Pro, which also helps with reducing lag and tearing. And, we always like to check what other users are saying, and the feedback on this TV for gaming is really positive.
What do they say?
Well, we saw people praising the 120 hertz performance, calling it super good with no noticeable lag. One person even specifically mentioned using it with their PS5 and being happy with it.
So that PS5 compatibility is a big plus for console gamers.
Absolutely. Another user talked about how smooth the gameplay felt, even with fast movement on screen. And we even saw a comment about 4K content looking flawless.
Okay, so it sounds like the TCL is living up to its gaming promises. But was there anything else about setup? Any quirks or anything?
There was one user who mentioned a slight delay initially when using their PS5 before they figured out the game mode settings. So it might not be a plug-and-play experience for everyone, but once they got it set up, they were good to go.
Makes sense. Sometimes you got to tweak a few settings to get things running optimally. So let's talk about picture and sound quality beyond gaming. What's the overall consensus from users?
It's overwhelmingly positive, really. People consistently talk about the picture being bright and sharp with those vibrant colors and deep blacks we talked about.
Hmm.
A lot of users mention that the HDR performance is a huge step up from their previous TVs.
Yeah, HDR can really make a big difference. It's like you're seeing more detail, more depth in the picture.
Absolutely. And one thing that really stood out to me was how many people were raving about the built-in speakers.
Really? That's not something you hear too often with
I
TVs.
know, right? Usually people are quick to recommend a sound bar or external speakers, but with the QM7, people are saying the speakers are so good they don't even feel the need for anything extra.
So what's the secret sauce?
Well, it seems like the rear-firing Onkyo subwoofer is doing a great job of adding some oomph to the sound. They're getting that extra bass, that immersive feeling, without having to clutter up their living room with more gadgets.
Okay, I'm impressed. Any other interesting feedback that caught your eye?
Yeah, we had one person say they were just completely blown away by the picture quality and the brightness, especially when watching Dolby Vision content. And for those of you who love nature documentaries, someone specifically mentioned how amazing nature shows look on this TV, so it seems like it's a great all-rounder.
It's sounding pretty good so far. But what about the downsides? Every TV has them, right?
Right, so there were a few things that popped up. One user reported some issues with universal remote compatibility. It seems like the TV doesn't have separate on-off commands and input commands.
So you can only toggle it on or off.
Yeah, and that can create problems with certain universal remotes. They can get out of sync. This same user also mentioned some handshaking issues when trying to connect a PS5 through a receiver. So if you have a more complex home theater setup, you might run into some hiccups.
Good to know. So maybe not the most plug-and-play experience for everyone. What else?
Another customer mentioned that the automatic turn-on feature with their PS5 Pro wasn't working at first, but they did eventually find a setting to enable it, so it sounds like some features might require a bit of digging through the menus.
Uh-huh. Not ideal, but not a deal breaker either.
And the last thing is that to get the full brightness potential of the TV, you might need to disable the energy saving option.
That's a trade-off some people might be willing to make.
Okay.
So overall, it sounds like the TCL QM7 delivers pretty impressive performance, especially for gaming and general viewing, but you might have to tinker with some settings, particularly if you're integrating it with other devices.
Exactly. All right, let's switch gears now and delve into the Hisense U7N. Again, we'll be looking at the 75-inch model. And just like the TCL, this one features a mini LED Pro display with QLED quantum dot color. So you're getting that same combo of precise backlighting and enhanced color performance.
Nice. So you're already starting off with some strong picture quality potential.
Absolutely. It's also 4K Ultra HD resolution, and it's got a native 144 hertz refresh rate with a variable refresh rate range of 48 hertz to 144 hertz.
So right in that sweet spot for gamers. Now, what about their local dimming setup? Do we know how many zones it has?
So they don't give us a specific number of dimming zones, but they do highlight their full array local dimming pro, and they claim a peak brightness of up to 1500 nits, which puts it right up there with the TCL.
That's pretty bright. And what about the brains of the operation? What's powering all of this?
Well, it's driven by their HiView Engine Pro chipset, which has a whole bunch of AI-powered picture processing technologies. They've got Dynamic Tone Mapping Pro, which adjusts HDR scene by scene.
Smart.
They've also got features like face detection, AI HDR enhancement, and AI detail enhancement. So they're really pushing that intelligent picture optimization angle. And of course, it supports both Dolby Vision IQ and Dolby Atmos, so you're getting that top-tier HDR and immersive audio experience.
Yeah, Dolby Atmos is a must-have for a truly cinematic experience.
Yeah.
So how about those gaming features? What's the Hisense bringing to the table?
Well, specifically for gamers, they've got a dedicated 144 hertz Game Mode Pro with AMD FreeSync Premium Pro.
Nice. That's a good sign.
And they've also included low latency MEMC. Now, MEMC stands for motion estimation, motion compensation, and it basically works to smooth out fast action in games while minimizing input lag.
Got it. Keeping things smooth and responsive.
They've also added this new game bar that gives you quick access to all sorts of gaming-related settings right on the screen.
Oh, that's handy.
For audio, the Hisense U7N uses a 2.1 multi-channel sound system with a total output of 40 watts and a built-in subwoofer, so you should get some decent sound out of it. It's also got certifications for IMAX Enhanced and Filmmaker mode.
So they're paying attention to how the creators intended their content to be seen and heard.
Exactly. And on the connectivity front, it has Wi-Fi 6E, That means potentially faster and more stable wireless internet. And one thing I think a lot of people will appreciate is the 2-year warranty. That's double the standard 1-year warranty that you usually get.
That peace of mind is definitely a bonus. Okay, so what's the verdict from gamers who've actually tried the U7N?
Well, people are really highlighting that low input lag and smooth gameplay, especially at that 144 hertz refresh rate.
That's the key for a good gaming experience.
Right. One person specifically commented on how smooth the gameplay was with absolutely no delays. And another nice touch is that the TV automatically detects a PS5 when it's plugged in, so no need to manually switch inputs or anything.
Yeah, that's always a welcome feature. Takes the guesswork out of setup. So, sounds like they've really thought about the gamer experience with this one. What about picture and sound for everyday viewing?
The general feedback is very positive. People praise the vibrant colors, the accuracy, and the strong contrast, and the HDR performance is getting good marks too. One person even mentioned that the colors were fantastic.
Short and sweet.
Right. And just like with the TCL, users are really impressed with the sound quality. They're calling the built-in speakers powerful, and some even say it's fantastic for an LED TV. One reviewer compared it to the sound you get in an IMAX theater, which is a pretty bold statement.
Sounds like they're not messing around with the audio either. So you get that immersive experience without needing to invest in a separate sound system. That's a win for sure.
Definitely. People are also happy with how well it handles reflections. If you've got lamps or sunlight in the room, it doesn't seem to be a big issue with this TV. Okay, so let's do a final wrap-up here, comparing these two TVs side by side. When it comes to gaming, both the TCL QM7 and the Hisense U7N have got that 144 hertz refresh rate, variable refresh rate support, and low input lag.
The essential ingredients for a smooth gaming experience.
Right. Now, the TCL does have the potential to go up to 240 hertz VRR, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that could be a big draw for PC gamers who want that absolute best performance.
While the Hisense U7N has dedicated HDMI 2.1 ports that can handle 4K at 144 hertz, that's great for the latest gaming consoles.
Plug and play, no compatibility worries.
User feedback suggests that both TVs deliver on that smooth gaming promise, but the TCL might require a bit more setup with external devices, as we mentioned before.
Some minor tweaking might be necessary. Now, what about picture quality? Both TVs are boasting pretty impressive specs.
Yeah, they both use QLED technology and full-array local dimming for excellent picture quality, and both can reach those high peak brightness levels.
So you're getting vibrant colors and deep blacks.
The TCL QM7 really pushes its QD mini LED tech and the high number of dimming zones, while the Hisense U7 emphasizes its mini LED Pro and the AI-powered picture processing. But ultimately, the reviews for both TVs in terms of picture quality are overwhelmingly positive.
So it sounds like you're going to get a fantastic picture no matter which way you go.
Okay.
What about the sound quality? We know both have built-in sound systems with subwoofers, but are there any notable differences?
Well, the TCL has that Onkyo system, which audiophiles might appreciate. And the Hisense has that 2.1 multi-channel setup. But honestly, both systems seem to be a step above what you typically get with built-in TV speakers.
Which is usually pretty underwhelming, right?
Exactly. So it sounds like you can expect good sound quality from both TVs, probably good enough that you wouldn't immediately need a soundbar.
That's always a plus. Saves you some money and clutter. And I think they're both running Google TV, right?
Yeah, they both run on Google TV, so you're getting a wide range of apps and all those smart TV features. So overall, they're pretty comparable in terms of the smart features.
All right, time for the final verdict. What are the main things to consider when choosing between these two TVs?
So the TCL QM7 has those potential issues with universal remotes and initial setup with consoles and receivers. You might need to do a bit of troubleshooting.
Right, some minor hiccups to be aware of.
Whereas the Hisense U7N has those limited viewing angles, the possibility of a dirty screen effect, and maybe some menu lag.
Okay, so both have their quirks. I guess it comes down to what you're willing to prioritize and what potential drawbacks you can live with.
Yeah, at the end of the day, both the TCL QM7 and the Hisense U7N are really strong contenders if you're looking for a budget-friendly gaming TV with a 144 hertz refresh rate.
They both offer fantastic value for the price.
If you really value that potential for higher variable refresh rates and you love that the TCL has great out-of-the-box picture and sound, then the QM7 might be the way to go. Just be prepared to maybe spend a little extra time setting things up.
And for those who want that plug-and-play 4K at 144 hertz experience for their consoles and like that extra peace of mind with the longer warranty, the Hisense U7N is a great choice. Just keep in mind the viewing angle limitations, and the possibility of those screen uniformity issues.
We hope this breakdown has helped you guys make a more informed decision.
And at the end of the day, the best TV for you really depends on your individual needs, your setup, and your budget.
To find the latest prices and deals on both of these TVs, make sure you check out the links in the description below. And if you enjoyed this in-depth comparison, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Tech Talk Central, for more tech reviews and analyses.
And let us know in the comments which TV you're leaning towards, or if you have any other questions.
We love hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching.